Okay, here we are, Wednesday morning. Did I do a where are we yet? I don't think I did. So it's kind of weird. I slept through most of the, well, I slept until almost about time to play Raid. And part of the problem is I played so much Raid last night. But I apparently came down here, did something, because I left the door open. I don't think it's been open all night. I came down to move the garbage cans down. That's what it was. And I was expecting to come back here, but I ended up falling asleep in between that time after playing a lot more Raid. Again, events are underway. So what has happened so far? Not a lot, to be honest, but a lot of rules checks and whatnot. But we played the first campaign season, the first full campaign season in the last video, and the Prussians solidified their position down here, and really everybody agonized over card plays and whatnot. An additional thing, I got responses to my question from Kalinkowski. He's apparently traveling and not as accessible as usual, and that's fine. Let me try to remember what they were. They were kind of a mixed bag. He has a way of answering questions without really answering them fully. So one of them was it's definite. If it's your deck of cards, you can't go about using it to move some other power, okay? There are exceptions in there. For example, the Austrians can move the, I don't know about the Piedmontese, I don't think so, but they can move the Dutch, who appear to be kind of British, right? Stuff like that. Okay. That's fair enough. I don't remember with the Piedmontese, but there are a number of exceptions in terms of minor powers who can activate them and whatnot. The Dutch aren't really, like, they don't have an army. They don't have a leader. Now, maybe they get one. Yeah, they get William IV, but that's not going to help a hell of a lot either. Oh, wait, you got somebody else here. Waldeck. Okay. I get the feeling he's kind of like the sea beggar type. I don't remember. Like, I mean, this is well beyond that era. But anyway, but something about the name feels like maybe there was a sea beggar named Waldeck as well. But he also doesn't look like a regular leader. Okay, beyond that, what else do we... The other question had to do with... well, there were several questions, but another question had to do with the can play while neutral cards. And his argument with those, his response with those, rather than just say, yeah, just ignore that, which is, I think, what it actually comes down to, was that, A, and he's already said this, although someone else had interfered in the conversation and gave completely wrong advice about that, was that no, they can be played at any time if they say that, which it never was a question in my mind. It was a question in someone else's mind that, I got one of the few answers that was already present, that I was able to, there's like 200 threads on this game, okay, because there's so much problem, and things might be repeated. But the other thing was along the lines of, well, cards which provide reinforcements usually are usually not going to be able to be played while you're neutral. I'm not sure about that particularly, but whatever. But the card in question doesn't do that. It just gives victory points. You know, the one that the initial question was about. Anyway, I am just going to ignore that entire thing unless there's some reason that I think, oh, you couldn't play this if you were neutral. I think it's a totally useless statement on the card. The thing that got screwed up was the question relating to the color of the seal on a card, okay? So I asked two different questions relating to that. One, because the broadest state of the ruling seems to make it sound like you can play cards and move any of your allies with them. I was pretty sure that wasn't the case. It was just really kind of hammering my point home that the rules aren't very solid. Well, that's the one he answered. So, like, France can't play and move and use points to move Prussian units, and he answered that perfectly fine, but ignored the real question that I had underlying, and maybe didn't state as well as I could have, but which is, look, can France play a Spanish card and spend for French points? I'm going to play it that they can't, because there's no, but of course the may play when neutral doesn't mean anything. Maybe the little seals don't mean anything either. I think those points have to be used by the country that they are. But he did answer it partly, which was someone else had the same someone else who got the other thing completely wrong had basically answered, yeah, you can play those points for anyone. And I responded, well, doesn't that leave Spain kind of in the shitter, because France can just like steal all their points, you know, and make sure that they win, because there's periods when Spain can't play. And this other guy answered, yeah, well, too bad. And Kalinkowski answered something along the lines of, yes, it's possible, or something along the lines of, it's possible that, you know, France can screw Spain over. But when I thought about it a little bit more, I'm like, well, France can use these yellow seal cards as discards, no question about that, and screw Spain over. So I'm just trying to nail him down to, can I use the CPs on that Spanish card to move French points? I'm saying no right now. If he changes his mind, I can change the way I'm playing. I really don't think I'm going to get a very solid or good playthrough. Okay, so where are we in the sequence now? We're in the initial supply segment. Now this is in player order, so we go back here. Right now only Prussia and Austria are in the war. I could have played the Belle Ile card, and I'm kind of like, wow, because I get confused. Because it said summer, I figure it wouldn't be the first campaign season. That's just me being stupid, whatever. I should have remembered something along those lines. But I'm not really sure I want to play it in the fall, particularly. Like, if I'm going to play it in one of these things and not be able to get a military capability out of it for the French, I probably want to play it down here in the early winter. But I'm not sure about that. Anyway, for the Prussians, do they need depots? Probably not. First of all, I've got some extras. So, but again, there's this horrible, like, let's take a look. You know, if I have cards I don't want, I may want to just buy depots and put them in here, you know. What are the consequences? There is a segment in which you return the depots. Depot removal. Remove them from the map, okay? Not from your player aid card, which is important because these are stockpiled. The ones that are on the player aid card are stockpiled. And it's kind of a shame that, like, you know, France has depots on the map. If they're not going to enter the war, they really don't need them. I don't know if Spain does. Spain does as well, yeah. I don't know that they're going to actually need them. You know, But the Belle-Île card would have brought France and Spain into the game for this fall campaign turn, in which case they would have at least served some purpose. But those are just going to disappear now. But the important thing that I want to consider right now as to the Prussian cards, and yes, these are taking a long time, but it's because I have to flip through the rules, I have to look up a lot of stuff. There's a lot to keep in your head in this game. I don't think Clash of Monarchs was as demanding, outside of any, any confusion type things. But when I draw my cards, which is here, Prussia will be drawing 10 more cards. Now I look over here at the Prussian hand, and they've played 2. 2. When does the deck expand? The deck doesn't expand until 1743. Okay. I'm going to be allowed... I forget whether I was allowed to play one here. I think I was. I'm going to be allowed to play a campaign card. That's 2. If I have the appropriate one, 3, 4, 5 cards over the course of the year. So that gets me to a maximum, that gets me to like 7 expended cards. If I have cards I'm not going to want, I might as well throw them, away to build up depots. But the fact that I'm maintaining some kind of flexibility, and again, how much does it matter, depots versus diplomacy, stuff like that? That's always a hand-wavy argument to make, right? It's like, yeah, maybe I'm giving subsidies or gifts or something like that, but are they going to be the size of a depot? I doubt it. or whatever. But then there's also the possibility of discarding cards for other purposes to gain a strength point or whatever. So, when do I want to spend my cards? Well, I can only discard, I think 1 card back in these spaces for those. So that still works with the same count situation. Or wherever it is that I get to discard them. I don't know. See, this is the thing. I can't remember where everything is. It's not like most CDGs, it's like, okay, you get to play your card and you get to do whatever you want with the points on that card. And if there's something like you have to discard a card to do something, you do it at that point. It's play a card and do something. This has a really, really complex sequence of play that has me constantly looking shit up. Am I horrible about that? Do I hate that? Not really. Not really. It's just hard to get your grasp on it. Kind of reminds me of, in some ways, is the Europa Universalis Price of Power game. The fact that, that sequence of play didn't ever really gel on me, or took a lot of effort to do so, because... And had a lot of information all over the place to look for and whatnot, so that there were pieces of information that were hard to find, hard to see. Now, I liked that game a lot. So again, I don't see that as a barrier to me enjoying this. I could see someone who isn't that much different from me hating this, though, or that, right? It's not this. So compare it to, and again, I can't go to the Clash of Monarchs. Because I haven't played it recently enough. Your normal CDGs, this is just light years more difficult to cope with. But if you take a look at the EU Pop versus the original EU, or this versus the original EU, there's something very intuitive, right? I've got an economics phase. I collect my money and I do that. When you start talking about abstract replacements for, ideas that we just kind of understand, like money and stuff, and start talking about cards as your resources and have them slipped in many different places that they can be used in different ways, yeah, you're starting to get to the point where there's a memory overload in terms of what you have to try to remember in terms of the pattern of how you play, just basic competence in the game, essentially. And I think that's going to be very hard to reach in this one. Now, once again, I'm in the point where I may have said something wrong. I think I did, because I'm like looking for, but where's the thing where I can discard a card to get a strength point? Wasn't there something like that? And I'm not finding it. I'm not finding a place in the sequence of play where you can do that. Oh, here we go. Save resources to buy SPs and depots. That's plural. Very interesting. Very interesting. So that's the point at which you can do it. You can't do it at any time. So where is this? It'll probably send me somewhere else. Save resources. Players can discard to buy SPs or depot. 1 SP. Okay, so you are able to do it. But part of why I'm here, I'm back here babbling about this, is that I feel like I may have said, like I had two memories in my head. One, that you could do this, and now I found the evidence that you can. And two, that I said something a while back, like on the last video, of I can't find where you can discard cards for it, but it may have just been you can't do it during normal play of cards. I've got a card that I want to discard, maybe, and then like some battle cards and stuff that I'd be fine to discard. I've got one that I can't play, but I don't think I want to buy a depot with it. I feel like I've got enough depots, right? So what about deploying depots? Is there anything I need to do? Yeah, now I am allowed to move them 2 spaces. Yeah, move any and all depots 2 spaces. So I've got one here at Breslau. That's the only one I have. Saxony's my ally. Not really sure whether or not, like, I think I can just move stuff in. But I know that there's a geopolitical problem between Saxony and Prussia, and one between, like, Piedmont and Austria, right? So for that, and you're seeing me look stuff up a lot, because I am being forced to look up a lot. In a lot of games, I'll just say, I looked that up because I had a question or whatever. Here, I'm just left with, I don't really remember at all. The game is just putting too much of a burden on me overall. So after Convention of Hanover, is that the British card that I played? No, I played Dresden Conference. Okay. I don't know who would have played Convention of Hanover, but somebody allows you to go into Prussian spaces. I just found that here. Any force can enter their Western forces without violating Prussian neutrality, but that's fine. But what I'm looking for is the Saxons in particular, who are a minor power. That's about Saxon secret alliance, not about inoperability. Fuck. I would have expected it to be here. Like, I've got this card here, right? This was the one, the Augustus Overawed. This was the card I'm thinking about discarding, because I can't use it. Saxon forces and leaders may be combined with and controlled by Prussian leaders without mixed force penalties. Okay, so there's no problem with that. Is there something like this with Piedmont? You seem to remember there was an issue with Piedmont. Until then, Piedmontese SPs and leaders may not form mixed forces with pragmatics and cannot trace. Now, I remember something about Piedmont essentially having conflicting goals with the Austrians and not being able to operate with them. Shit. And now I can't find it, right? Now I just can't find it. I really doubt Piedmont. Piedmont strategy cards, maybe that's it. Okay, so 4.02, I'm on 7.5. 4.02 and 6.13 might be what have some. This is going to be the special rule about Piedmont cards. 6.13 that led to some of the questions. Yeah, that they go over there. What was the other one? 4.0.2. I am really impressed with the index, to tell you the truth. I don't know if it's perfect, but control of Piedmont. The British player controls Piedmont unless Piedmont. Yeah, that doesn't help either. Yeah, I thought there was. Wow, this is just so weird. Hold on. The French Bavarian can activate Spanish forces by playing French strategy cards. Just French strategy cards. But whenever it activates, it's controlled by the Prussian player who determines where it moves. The Prussian player also controls where they will move in an attempt to intercept. Yeah, this doesn't handle the color. Whereas here it says some French strategy cards cannot be used to activate forces in Italy, where most Spanish SPs will be. I'm really beginning to think that maybe it is indeed the case that those little seals on the cards mean nothing, that they're completely useless. That's just to indicate the color, who the event more favors or is more important to. I can't find anything. I thought there was some kind of interop problem between the Austrians and the Italian forces here, but I can't recall and I can't figure out where it would be. So where am I? I don't know. So is this right? I only have one fucking depot at the beginning of the game? That seems really low. Now I have to check this setup because I don't believe that. Like, it just seems so unlikely. There's a depot in Prussian, and that is it. I don't know what to do. Well, I'm not allowed to play this, but I could operate out of there. What do I want to fight? This is the oversized Austrian force. I'm just trying to figure out, do I want to just sort of blast into... Okay, and this can't be, can it? Why has the Prussian army got 20 strength points? Oh, that's got to be wrong. Oh, fuck. Oh, holy fuck. I don't know what's going on here. Like, somehow or another, this army has ended up much, much larger than what Frederick had. Uh-oh, time to check this setup again. I may have fucked something up with the counters or something. Okay. The main army has Frederick 40. I really hate that every time I see that, I think that's like 40 strength points. He has only 11 infantry. He had 16. I don't know. I think he got reinforced. And Nassau here has very, very few. Well, 16 sucks. I don't want to be fighting the Austrian army with that small a force. I'm kind of like, wow, I got lucky in not having to fight a battle. Shit me. Now, I had 11. Here's the problem. I had like 11 strength points. And I'm just not buying... Like, I dropped a couple off. I might have lost one. That's still putting me well under the points that I won at. And who's this Nassau here? Like, I feel like I fucked something up royally. Nassau had 7 to begin with. Now he dropped one off here. That seems about right. May have lost one. Here I have 1, 2, 7, 8. Where are all those extra strength points that I should have? You know. I just don't know what to do. Like, did I fuck up making change or something? I don't know. Well, we'll leave it as it is, but Frederick does not feel happy with what he's got. I'll tell you that much. And I'm trying to make a decision. Do I buy another stupid depot? Or do I move this depot? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this depot here. And that's all I'm going to do. Now, that took me like, what, 20 minutes, almost all on video or something, to make the decision to make that one little move. No Austrian irregulars because this is my turn. And now I get to make a move. Jesus Christ. Well, I got to get old Dessau down there so that I have enough forces to fight the Austrians, that's for sure. Here's the problem. I have a major campaign in my hand that I could play, but that would remove a kind of shitty card, but also something, you know, that might be useful for managing my campaign well. Other than that, I got the Augustus card. That's a 3-point. I got these Pillage the Enemy. Play if you have a major force in an enemy-colored space that is not currently a Prussian-controlled fortress. There's none of those right now, so I'll get rid of that. This I don't want to play now. This is another one of those Pillage the Enemies. Now, they're 3-point cards, as is this, but I could use that. Firing with fearsome rapidity. This is a battle card. This one says play 1742 or later. Okay, so this is a shitty 1-point card that I can't use for its battle card capability. And I check it to make sure, and fuck. And it's got a little E on it. That's what I was trying to show when I decided to drop it. So I've got kind of the choice between playing a 3-point card, which doesn't do me any good. So I guess I'm going to play a fucking 2-point card. I don't want to play that major campaign, but let's say I move old Dessau down. Here's the problem. He is not... Oh, and I'd be facing fucking Traun down here. Son of a bitch. I don't know. Okay. If I play this as a 4-point card, it gets rid of some of my problems. But if I just move old Dessau, whatever his fucking actual name is, Dessauer, I want to call him Vesemir. If I move him down to try to join up or anything with a 2-point card, that just gets me there. I don't think I have anything that was winter cards. Now I got to look through again, but I'm pretty sure I didn't have anything that said I could do a winter play. Yeah, and my only winter play was the fixed card from before, and that's, you don't have additional, you know, the decks are so small at the beginning of the game, you don't have anything. So if I move him, I don't get that. Now another option is I can move Freddy, and he could pick Nassau up, and maybe I could beat Traun in a 1-on-1. I don't know what size force Traun has, but I got a shot at it. But Traun is very good. Alternatively, I could come down here and try to beat Neipperg. might work. There's possibility of a large force reinforcing him. Yeah, I think I'll play with no hidden information. So let's take a look. What do we have here for him? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 strength points. Whereas I'd be looking at, 10, 15. I have a shot. But again, Troun is good. Like, he's better than I am. I don't want to face him. I do have combat cards, though. God. And this is where I fall into my analysis paralysis of the, oh, geez, I just don't want to fucking make a decision. I got myself another pipe and some coffee to do this. Now, this leads me to miss the days. Back when I first started videoing, I was only allowed 15-minute videos on YouTube. I don't know, I think other people had bigger ones, so I think you reach a point where you're opened up for more, but I started relatively early, so maybe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend this 2 point to activate Freddy, and he's going to march 1, 2, pick up Nassau. Oh, fuck. Got too many units. I gotta leave a strength point behind, but then 3, 4 into here. And that means I have 3 of these left. This card was used up. It cost me 2 to play the card. I'm going to make some change. I got to put that up because I did a rant. I'm heading down this way. Let's change our depot movement to down here. Just makes more sense. Leaving something way out here just did not. Okay, I've moved in there. Now the Austrians have and the reason I'm attacking this is that I get to hit a really lousy leader. And I think leadership is going to be more important than number of troops. Along with my bonus cards and all that. Not going to pre-calculate to figure out what my bonuses would be. But I end up giving him an opportunity to try to intercept. Now, of course, I think the intercept is going to be at +1 to get there. But again, there's just such a rules overhead, and it's a new game for me, that I have to look it up. I have to look everything up. And that's almost every game. You're seeing more of it here. I don't know why. Commander. Yeah. So, yeah, I would have a 1 in 6 chance to bring this force into play. Now, I have 15, 19... 29, I have exactly 30 strength points. That was my plan. I'm going to take him as he is. So, we go to battle. We go to a major battle. And what do? I have to spend an AP to attack. I tally the strength points on each side to determine the CRT strength column. Both are on the smaller column, because you don't want to be on the larger one. What is under here? Oh, the playbook. Okay. So, we're both on the 1 to 30 column. We determine the Army battle ratings. All right. How do we figure that out? We don't have that here. Army battle rating. It's going to be the base number. Yeah, I think the leader counts in on this, right? Yeah. Okay, base number, the Army commander, and then we come up with a net modifier. So, I have a 4, because we're on the 4 side. plus 2 is 6. Austria has a 4 plus 0, which means Prussia has a plus 2 on their die roll. Austria does not have a minus. There's no special effects there. I think the attacker has to play their cards first. But first we have the Day of Battle card, and I gotta go get me a 10-sided die, because I don't think I have one down here. Alright, so Day of Battle is 9. There are 10 of these total. That means this one down here is 10. The one under it is 9. It's a pain in the ass rolling dice when you have cards, but it's easier than shuffling the cards. So Land Battle, 10 to 89 SPs, no effect. Okay. That was fun. Players can play up to 2 battle cards in their hands. The number of cards depends on the offense DRM. I have an offense of 2. I'm allowed to play 2 battle cards. The Austrians are only allowed to play 1. Let's look at the cards. And again, we will back away a little bit as we get deeper into the game. But there are 8 or more Prussian SPs. I'll play this one. I'm not allowed to play this one yet. So my die roll will have a plus 2. Now for the Austrians, we have to look through their hand. If Cuirassiers play 2 or more Austrian cav, that's plus 2 to their battle roll. That sounds like a good idea. Keep forgetting that I have interrupt cards in this game. I hate interrupt cards. Okay, so both sides are a plus 2 to the die roll. Now, it looks like it's a 2 die roll or something with how long it is. I don't think it is. I think it's just 1 die. Yep. Both at plus 2. The Prussians are actually at plus 4 because they get the net die roll. So they get an 8. They will do 15% of their force. The Austrians get a total of 3. They'll do 10% of their force. I like this kind of battle system. Percentage loss of your forces. We were at 30. That's going to cause 3 Prussian losses, period, the end. Every 4th has to be cav. So we take 3 off the Prussians, and then we have to add 3 here. Which does that. Again, lots of room. When you're playing with force pools, there's always room for fuck-ups. But let's look at the Prussian side. I just took 3 off. 9, 10, 13. Don't think I have the calculator. Oh yeah, there it is. Cool. 13 times 15%. I don't feel like I've gotten lazy doing math in my head. So that's going to be 2 hits to the Austrians. And that gives them a 5. We'll worry about that later. Okay, these cards will all go away. Prussians here. What's this? It's a bookmark. Okay, Austrians up there. Alright, now let's look. The side that lost the most SPs loses the battle is the loser. If both sides' SPs are equal, the one with the higher ABR is the winner. So the Prussians lost the battle, which means that they're demoralized. The Austrians will be warned with a -1 on him. We have possible leader casualties and other stuff as well, which we have to worry about. Get rid of this. It's just a crowded fucking table. It's not a major victory because nobody got their head handed to them. The losing force must retreat. It must retreat as a single stack. We'll fall back to where we were. We get this strength point back in here. Oh, look. We get to make change. This is one problem with using number counters. I'm anal retentive about using the least markers that I possibly can anywhere. Yeah, that's bothering me. Retreats must be towards the nearest friendly, retreating forces must try to, okay. We don't have any problem with retreat, I just have to make sure. We don't retreat into a fortress. It's not that, it's not that, it's not that. Okay. Somewhere there's a chance we lose leader losses up here. Okay. Yeah, that would have happened earlier. Roll 2 dice for each side that has a commander present. Okay. The Prussians. They do not get a 12. The Austrians do not get a 12. Now, this demoralization is, I believe, a -2 to combat. Let's see if I have a demoralized marker. There's got to be a demoralized marker. I don't know where the fuck it is. I don't know where they are. Because demoralized, no interception. Okay, I'm going to have to look. I think it's probably under that British marker there. Honestly, I don't think there is one. They're supposed to look like this, and I don't have anything that looks like that. Yeah! Obviously, I can use something for it, but again, it feels like, wow, that should have probably shown up in the game, eh? Were we also supposed to have... I mean, you will usually have a leader with a force. I'm just looking to see. We have year, 4 phase, current power. I was looking to see if we were supposed to have something for the APs, etc. Now, I am allowed to spend to rally to good order, which would cost me 3 SP. I don't have that. It's not that big a deal, because I go to the rally segment and I remove Warn and DM markers. Just from my side. Now, the Austrians can't, I don't know if they can, rally. Let's see. 4.23, 14.2. Yeah, you're allowed to rally a Warn force as well. That's an expensive action, but it's an interesting choice. It's just rain, I think. Oh boy. Okay. And that means that I go to the final supply segment, and we're still in supply. We're sitting on the depot. Everything else is a small force except this. This is in a fortress, or in a fortress space, so it's fine. That means we will slide down here to the Austrian action, and I'm pooped, man. I'm pooped. Hey, I moved a piece. It's going to get easier. I tell myself that. I know that. It's not going to be like a Vietnam or a Summer Storm type game where I just start saying, okay, look, this is just continually too much effort. But right now the burden's very high. Between rules lookups and, well, videoing everything and blah, 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 it is painfully high. It's actually hard to come down and play. When a game is difficult to cope with, I have a hard time, facing the barrier of it. All right, for the Austrians. First thing is this depot thing. I don't think I really need anything. However, we go to the Austrian irregulars. There's not much that I think I can do with my irregulars. Again, I don't have something that I can block off, so I'll hold off on that. But now it's my campaign segment. What I'm going to do, first thing I have to do is and I already did this, I have to check Nyberg here and make sure he has strength points. He's got like 28. Traun has 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I've got things allocated properly for this theater, which means I won't be penalized for action points in the theater. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to move Traun and make an advance and take one of these fortresses. I don't really want to face Freddy, but if I can cut off his lines of supply, he may be somehow penalized. I don't see much because he's in a fortress that's friendly to him, in the sense that he owns it, and he's got a depot right now and everything, and also there's just not a lot of time. But I'm going to see what I can do in terms of maybe advancing against the Prussian holdings in Silesia. Ignore the Saxons for now, although they would be easier to beat up, which is a possible point of interest. Dresden's not worth any points, which is important because I brought Dresden into the war, and they would have potentially, like, I don't know who controls them. It's kind of the thing. Or I brought Saxony into the war. So, if they had had any points, one of the nations would have gotten them. And I forgot all about that, actually. Piedmont is not yet in the war. No one's in the war except Saxony. Well, Hanover is in the war, for what that's worth. Ooh. I don't know what's up. So do the British get a turn? I played... So Britain is not a belligerent. I don't think I get to play campaign cards for Hanover. Even though they've gotten an extended force and everything. Wow. Like, Britain is the major power. They're not a belligerent. I don't think they get a turn. So I think Hanover is just sort of like... they're a belligerent, but they don't get a chance to play anything or do anything. Wow, that's kind of weird. That means I don't have to really protect against them. Interesting. I didn't really put any thought to either of these points. Anyway, for the Austrians, let me see what I can find for Traun. What I don't really like is I'm sitting here... I'm going to play this card because it's useless, but it's 3 points. Is it really that useless? Maybe I should be buying depots. I don't know. I can always discard for strength points, though, so... And I don't feel like I need depots. I'm playing a 3-point card to move Traun. That feels like a waste. But my 1 and 2 point cards look more useful. This is a card that I can't really do anything with. Now, Traun only takes a 1 point, so I can move a 2-point command as well. that could allow me to rally him, among other things. So we'll do that. But my primary goal is going to be to move up here. So now Crown has 8. Oh, good Lord. 6, 7, 8. There's not even a track that I can use for it. Okay. And do I want to leave a strength point in Prague? Probably. I don't know. Leaving something ungarrisoned with the Saxons there seems like a problem. I can move here, it can't be intercepted, and then into here. That's 2 of my movement points, so that drops me to 7, 6, and then I'll start sieging. I'm not going to video all of this, but I'm going to see what I can grab down, you know, if I can cut up and whatever. So, we've expended a couple of points, lost a couple of strength points, but ended up getting ourselves, oh wait, I think I'm actually at +2 siege. At a +2 siege, but that doesn't actually matter. I think I take this, and I would take it even if it was a major fortress, for 1 more point. I would be able to do it for 1 point, and just capture that back for what it's worth, and then I'll just push on. Do I want to chance Breslau? See, I might be forced to be the attacker. How do you get forced? Like, attacker is not as it usually is in this game. I know that, but I don't remember what it means. Like, somewhere under major battles, there's like a die roll for who initiates the attack or whatever, right? But that's not listed here. But I remember something about this. Like, who the attacker is not... The player who has the best initiative has the choice to attack. So actually, Frederick would have gotten to choose either way. But it doesn't actually matter. It's just a matter of which values you get to use. So I was like afraid of Traun because I would end up being the defender, or he would end up being the defender, but he probably would anyway. He has the initiative advantage, so he gets the choice. All right. It's just so weird. It's like so different from everything else. The player with the best initiative commander has first choice to attack, yeah. And if he declines, the other player has to. Yeah. It feels so different from most CDGs, from, well, most point-to-point games, most games, period. Where the intercepting player maybe is the attacker, like he's sometimes the attacker, sometimes the defender, but this is just completely different. I don't remember Clash of Monarchs had this. It's interesting. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I have enough points to take another one. Do I want to take a shot at Breslau, which is worth a good deal of points? Or do I want to cut up? Like, there's no, hey, grab Berlin and win the war or anything like that. Oh. Unless there's a card that does it, which is not in play right now. Interception is based on what? Like, there's so many numbers. I think it's based on, like, the attack value, to be honest. Which, again, feels weird. I can make the argument for it, but... Yeah, offensive DRM and withdrawal is like defensive DRM. Yeah. So there's a fair chance that Freddy Boy could intercept me. Do I care? Well, I know the size of his force now for sure. It's 9, 10, 11. Traun is better. I'm going to actually go into Breslau. I own this, so I'm in supply. So what the hell? And I think Freddie will try to intercept. He does not succeed. That was one more of these, and now I go back to sieging. Took these 3 victory points back with a successful siege. We still got 2 more points that I'm going to at least recover that 1 force. I realize I've screwed something up. No big shock. 20.0. Victory points. When I take an area, oh, there is an advantage to taking Berlin. It's on the victory point thing. Capturing enemy neutral. When you capture an enemy victory point space, the power adds its victory point and the original owner loses. So actually, I'm at -3 victory points total for Austria. They've lost those victory points to the French in Silesia. But I just regained Breslau, so I went from -6 to -3. I do have 2 more points. I definitely want to pay this. That will cost me... Uh, 3 of my 6 points. That means I have... Well, actually, I don't really care because I have a rally coming right afterwards. So, do I want to take more stuff? Is, I guess, kind of the question. Is there any fucking thing I want to do? What is Saxony's army like? It's like 7, 8, 9, 10 strength points. This guy is 6. I could move the Italian army up. Why don't I do that instead? So, as Austria, I'll activate him. I get 7. 1. Do I want to leave a strength point behind? Probably. Let's find the Italian army, just in case. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll move his Italian army up into Bohemia because there's no threat down there. And that uses up my 2 extra AP, and that's an Austrian card discarded. And now I get to rally, and this warn marker goes away. Really unhappy there's no demoralized markers. I check supply. I'm in supply everywhere. Like, the thing is, you can move out of supply, and you don't have to check supply when you do that. I don't know. It's just weird. I think those are the only 2 players who get to go. So now I go to the event card segment, and we're back with the Prussians. I'm just going to play, because it is fall of 1741 or later. Discard any 1 card to play this. Uh-oh. I got this shitty card that is worth almost nothing. I'll discard that. Where's Prussia? Prussia's over here. Okay. I can barely see with these cards. Roll a die. On a 1 through 3, the Russian influence marker moves towards the Bourbon. No. I did that, though. So this is defensive pact. We looked that up over here. Prussia defensive pact is on there, so I have to write this down. Because this doesn't go away. This stupid 2-point card stays in my deck. I just don't get to play that event again. Austria did nothing. I'm looking at the French, and I wanted to see what their last card played was. Well, it was this negotiation card, and I see on it, if played as event, remove. So, again, this red text, not something I can see. It's you know, beneath my visual capabilities on a regular basis. So I don't know, man. Like, the visual presentation of the cards is enough of a problem that it's like, I think, going to seriously hinder play throughout. Maybe I'll train myself so that I can see those little red scrawlings on all that color. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out this Belle Ile counter card if something horrible happens here. So it would, first of all, it gets removed if I play it. It would move Bavarian influence marker 1 space towards Bourbons. If the alliance occurs or has occurred, France, Spain, Bavaria are all now belligerent. Brings France in the game. Use 5 CPs for bonus French Bavarian activations outside. I can't do that here. I can't use bonus activations, I think, in the event phase. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Bonus activation 6.36, 8.2. The event was played in summer, fall campaign. This happens immediately. This is a fall campaign. So I would get like a surprise attack, essentially. I think I want to do that. I was going to play the Cartagena card. And I have played the Empire Diplomacy, right? Let me look here. It's not on there. Okay, this is the card that I think I had to remember that I played. Great. So yeah, so I move the Bavarian influence 1 space. That comes down to here. Bavaria now has joined the Bourbons. And now, even though I'm not in the normal sequence, France, Spain, and Bavaria are now all belligerent. Use 5 CPs for bonus French Bavarian activities. Now, is Belle Ile? We look on here. Again, if I had like twice the table space, this would be easier. But I'm using a fair amount. Belle Ile is not marked on here, so it must not be important. But this is a remove if played as an event. 5 points for activations outside the Italian theater. Okay. Touring here is a 3-pointer. I might be able to do something nasty like grab Prague. I don't know. See, he's not going to get his supply move, which is the problem with the way I'm doing things. But I could grab something like Passau and Linz and get some points and put a threat on Vienna. And maybe grab Luxembourg. I don't know what's up with the Dutch. Like, what happens if like, these fortresses are Austrian fortresses defended by Dutch troops. What happens then? I don't know. The index is once again invaluable. And it gets me here, and I see these markers, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I got no French allowed in the Austrian Netherlands, so I'm just not allowed to go in there. And I assume any card that allows me to go in there is going to push me into into the Netherlands. Now the question, of course, is Luxembourg part of the Austrian Netherlands? See, what do these say? These say D. Yeah, see, this area Austrian Netherlands here is not defined. I've got an 18.12 in Antwerp, and I know that I've got something special I have to do, like I can't win the game unless I take Antwerp or something like that, right? 18.12. French reinforcements starting in 45. I lose 5 if I don't have Antwerp. That's why that has a role in it. It looks like this is part of the Austrian Netherlands. How is that defined in here? I'll be so shocked. I don't think so. So I'm going to have to hunt a little harder. So, you know, something like Bohemia, it says Bohemia everywhere. Austrian Netherlands, it doesn't say, but it may be that all the white areas in the Netherlands, up there at all, count as Austrian Netherlands. I'm pretty sure Freiburg does not. Only rule I can find here is areas. Various regions such as Saxony, Silesia, and Bohemia marked by names between spaces or within spaces. I think this is all Austrian Netherlands. So that's going to restrict what I can do. So I have 5 points. I could send Bad Boy here, you know, this way towards Frankfurt or something like that. I could send Belle-Île similarly. He might be more valuable. But I think I want to send the Bavarians forward as well. I managed to remember I have this hesitation. The French-Bavarian force. So play against the French-Bavarian force starting its activation in or adjacent to an Austrian space. That will not be this if I trigger that. I haven't figured out what I'm doing, but I want to remember, you know, what the Austrians want to do. But if Belle-Île or Bad Boy activates, I can drop them so that they can only spend 1 activation point and can't do a hell of a lot, which is something important. So at the end of that, I've moved into Freiburg with Belle-Île. I'm actually leaving this empty. I don't think that I'm in any danger there. And you can see I took Passau, I took Linz. That cost the Austrians more victory points. You've got some Franco-Bavarian victory points. And I'm sieging Vienna. Now, I had a chance of taking Vienna. But there's this entry victory points. The first time that a friendly force enters an enemy capital, the following additional victory points are awarded. I think I actually have to take the capital. Like, I don't think it counts that I just walked up and I'm sieging the capital. It's not really absolutely clear to me. I think, like, if I had to fight for London, I would have to actually take London, like, temporarily to get the victory point bonus. But yeah, otherwise I would get 3 extra French victory points for Bavaria just laying siege to it. I don't know. And maybe somewhere in the playbook it has an example that shows that, but that's not something I want to cope with. And that's going to put me finally to the British here. I don't have to check supply or anything like that, because this is happening here in the event card segment when you're not normally supposed to campaign. So I get kind of a freebie move. Now I'm actually in supply, reaching back to there. I have to leave Linz garrison because it's victory points. If I lose the garrison there, I lose the victory points. But that's putting some serious pressure on the Austrians. Now, the Austrians actually have something that they can do about all this. They have a winter campaign, but I don't want to. So, somebody who knew the decks would know that they have a winter campaign in their initial deck, and they're very likely to have it in their hand if they haven't played it. Not guaranteed. Only Prussia is guaranteed to get all their cards. But anyhow, let's see what the English do. The English are going to try to convince Piedmont to join the war. Playing a negotiations card on a 1 through 4. They're allowed to play this, I think, because they played this card or Protocol of Neustadt, which means that they can play other diplomatic events. If this card hadn't been in my hand, obviously, I wouldn't know about that disclaimer and wouldn't have worried about it. I do not succeed. All right, that gets me to the end of the line there, and we get a fog of war, which in this case is attrition. Ah, I forgot all about that. Dang. Okay. Do we have the roll number on here? Yeah, we have something on there, but we don't have the roll number. So the attrition roll, definitely going to be in here. 5.1. Let's do that. When the attrition checks the supply state of every major force on the map. Okay. So let's do some thinking. I'm in supply here. I got fortresses all over here. The French are in supply. Austrians, British. I don't know about the British here. Uh-oh. If this was a major force, they'd be in trouble. They have no supply in England. If they're allowed to have like 8 strength points in London, if they do, they'd be in short supply. Interesting. All of this is in supply. Let's take a look at the Bavarians, because they're interesting. So I'm able to trace back to here, so I'm in supply. 2 AP back to a fortress. These guys are in supply. I've got a thing there anyway. The Austrian forces are in supply. You're in supply if you're in a fortress, so that's fine. The Prussians are in supply off this fortress. So I believe everything is in supply. However, then remove 20% of the SPs from all major forces in Italy and 10% from those outside Italy. This is in addition to any short supply effects you might have. So now I've got to go through each of my stacks and look. So in Italy, let's do that to begin with. Well, Emmanuel has the army of Italy here. He's got 10, 11, 12. 12 times 10%, 20% is 2.4. So I have to lose, oh, this is not his unit. This is it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Piedmont loses 2 strength points. It's not at war or anything. It doesn't say of belligerence or anything like that. You know, we just had too many troops concentrated in Italy at the start of the game. That's one. Okay, we'll take a look elsewhere. Now, elsewhere it's 10%. Italy is the only place where it was 20%. Oh, wait, Naples. 5, 6, that's more than 5 strength points. So these Neapolitans lose a strength point as well. 6 times 0.2 is 1.2. No, that's fine. Yeah, it's 0.6 or higher, you'd lose. And if you're between 0.5 and 0.6, it's undefined. But we have to worry also here. So Spain, 10, 12, 13, they're going to lose a strength point. And I'm just going to be going through everybody and picking off their strength points. This feels, first of all, mechanically cumbersome, right? But also really weird. The amount of supply loss that I'm taking from the attrition chip. Just having your armies in the field, you're going to lose 10% of your armies each year. Old age? I don't know. It's not unreasonable that armies would attrition in this sort of way. Men, you know, their term of service ending and whatever, leaving. Anyway, what is weird is that we're tracking it. Like, most games don't want to get into that detail, and they just are like, well, you'll be able to recuperate, you know, whatever your losses of this sort are. To be strictly realistic and everything, sure. I just feel like with Bubble Map World, I'm in an abstract enough game that I shouldn't be worrying about this kind of stuff. Anyway, I've worked my way over this side of the map. Everything over here, well, maybe not that. Okay, everything over here I've covered. But the English are an interesting case. I have no idea. These are all English allies, right? They're all Army rating 5. They're all good. I have no idea what cards are like, what I'm likely to gain back, what I'm likely to lose. I'm going to take my hit on Hanover, I guess, simply because I think I'm unlikely to get more Danish troops. Hessian, probably about equal to Hanoverian. But I just have no idea, what my losses are going to be. And then I'll continue over on the Austrian side here, including the Bavarian. It was incredibly cumbersome. Just picking through everything, checking the strength points of every stack on the board, basically. I mean, obviously, there's some that aren't going to be. And then the change making with the force pools and everything. Of course, the force pools aren't part of the game, but if you don't play with force pools the way I'm doing, you're going to have to be constantly counting all the strength points if you get up, if you feel like you're anywhere close to the limit. I think it's really unlikely anybody's going to get close to the limit if you're taking 10% attrition across the board. Now, it's not across the board. You spread your troops out all over the place and use them as police or whatever, and they're not actually a problem. End phase. Advance the season marker. Remove all CH markers not stacked with Austrians. Remove all guerrilla. My CH markers are all stacked with the Austrians. I think remove is put them into here, but I hope. And yeah, so that means, whoa, this was the fall campaign. I somehow shifted up to here. Okay, this means I'll be going into the early winter and the winter quarters. I don't have the energy to do this right now. So we're going to take another break. It might be the end for tonight. This game is really fatiguing me a great deal. The amount of thought I have to put into each card, the amount of rules checking, and then some tedious elements like this attrition check. I think the winter quarters, I'm going to have to abandon these sieges. I had hopes. This one, not so much. I didn't have the point to take it, but I figured there's no loss, so if I get to keep the siege, I get to keep it. But this one, I had a chance of actually taking Vienna, which would have been a big deal. But I think winter quarters is going to force me back. Yeah, it wouldn't have meant a damn thing. There wasn't anything I could do. Once I activated Belle Ile and that hesitation card came up, yeah, it wasn't going to work. All right. It's a kind of pretty rainy Wednesday. Still like 10 in the morning, somewhere around there. My garbage hasn't been picked up yet. And we'll get to here. Winter quarters phase. Land forces not in winter quarters can move 2 APs. Okay, so then, again, while these say in player order, it's for a whole cycle. So I'll start this. And I guess we'll start with the Prussians. We haven't had to do this yet. So winter quarters, we'll look this up. All forces combine, we move into winter quarters. Cycle. All friendly depots can move 2. All friendly major forces that are not in the same space as a depot, fortress, or square space must move 2. Major forces that can't reach will suffer winter attrition. Winter attrition is the same as the attrition chit we just got. And we can leave strength points behind in a victory point space that we pass through. All right, so let's take a look. And I think these sieges just break. I had some hopes of them staying alive. So Magdeburg, I don't get to move from. Coming back here, I'm not going to get to move, am I? There's no interception or anything of this, I think. Yeah. I think the Prussians can just stay as they are. The Stettin unit is not in winter quarters. It's not a major force, so it's not able to move at all. So yeah, I'm not able to do anything to reposition or anything like that. So for the Prussians, for example, they just stay exactly where they are. You know, I could withdraw from here into here. That doesn't particularly help me. So otherwise, I'm just stuck in place. And then we go on with other powers and do what we can with them. I'm not sure I'm going to be happy about Italy, having moved the Austrians out of Italy, because the Italian front can be active next year. The Spanish will be available there. But again, what can I do? It's not a big deal that I'm under siege, because I'm in winter quarters if I'm under siege. So I don't have to worry about the fact that the ordering doesn't allow me to get out of there. All right. So that's a major force. Let's take a look. That are not in the same space. Yeah, so I don't think I'm allowed to make any movements other than mandatory ones. So like these guys are in what would qualify as winter quarters, so they stay there. Same here, same here. I'm all in fortresses. So the Austrians have nothing they can do except Milan here, but I'm in winter quarters. There's a depot. Now I could have moved the depot in order to get out of that, and I think I will. See, here's the problem. If I move the depot, this becomes something that has to be sieged, but I'm still not allowed to move this because it's not a major force. I left it behind to protect the depot. So I think the Austrians are all in good place. The French and the Bavarians are in a problematic position, though. So for the French, Belle-Île will definitely have to move. Other stuff, I don't think there's anything that I have to move. Come over to the Bavarians. I don't get to move any of this. These get to move. Indeed must. And I take a look. I could leave 5 strength points behind. I'll just pull everybody back as far as Passau. Holding on to Linz, of course. And so that's them. And for the English, there's not going to be anything. So, we do that. Now we go to the saved resources recruiting, where I can discard unit cards to buy SPs and depots. This is a point where, again, I have to think about how many cards I'm going to want for the upcoming seasons. I get a bunch of cards here. A whole bunch of cards, okay? Let's see what the draw is. Okay, so Prussia gets 10, Austria and Britain get 12, France gets 13. All right. Now, if I look at my entire decks, Austria's spent quite a few cards. They have one. This is no fun counting. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards that they spent here. 8, 9. Now, for Austria, that means there's 3 cards. I could discard 3 cards and I would get a full hand of cards. I'd still have to discard down to 12, because you're not allowed more than 12 cards. France draws 13 cards and has to discard down to 12. which, you think that sounds really amusing. It means that, like, you have a lot of control. There's basically not a lot of randomness in terms of what cards you draw. You have a lot of control over what you're going to be able to do, and very little limitation other than, at least at this point in the game. Now, in that first hand, you draw a full hand at the beginning of the game, and then you don't hit this draw segment, which means you don't have to discard down, so whatever. But on this one, so I'm thinking about the Austrian points. So they could get rid of 3 more cards in the course of the game and still get all their cards available to them to make choices from. Now, I'm going to be able to play a campaign card for winter movement and late winter movement, but I look at these and I have one of them somewhere. Maybe played as a late winter season only, a 3 CP movement. So I might play that. And then I also get an event card here. So I'm going to get to play 2 cards, which means I can get my entire hand back if I discard a card. And, take the points from it. I could get most of my hand back if I discard more than 1 card, so I can discard multiple cards and draw troops. Now, do I want to do that late winter campaign? That's a really good question. What am I going to do with a 3 CP late winter campaign? Well, Trown could march out and attack Freddy. I know how many troops Frederick has. He probably would have to face me in battle, and that might be kind of cool. So I think I'm going to hold on to that. But the question is, if I've got cards that I don't really have a use for, it might just be worth taking SPs from them or whatever and putting them into my spring reinforcement box, because, hey, I could use troops. Poor Prussia doesn't get much in the way of reinforcements. Remember, Austria is getting these British subsidies, but Prussia's not. And Prussia is only going to be able to draw what it has off of cards. Wow. Okay, so I should do Prussia first. I was just counting Austria for no apparent reason. Prussia's first. Prussia has 10 cards. Let's take a look at what they spent. They have nothing available there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 cards that they've spent, which means I could get rid of 4 and still get my whole hand back. But, again, might have things I want to do. I don't think I have a winter card here. I have this, which I won't be able to play until next year. Now, I could play it here in the event card segment of spring, the Augustus card. Okay. I don't see anything I want to play here. So I think I will throw all 3 Prussian cards to get points. Do I particularly want Cav? I wasn't paying attention to the fact that the Austrian army had 2-to-1 Cav. They would have gotten like a +1 on the battle when they were attacked. Oh well. Yeah, I think I'm going to throw these 3, and I will take 3 Prussian infantry into the spring reinforcements because I just have no other way to get troops with the Prussians. So we'll do them first. Austrians, who we already talked about, grabbed themselves 3 troops as well, throwing some cards. The French have like 11 cards here, which means they can get rid of a couple of cards. I start looking through the French cards to see what I want to discard. Well, I definitely don't want to get rid of Cartagena. This, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'm I'm able, I think, it doesn't say boats here. So I don't know. I might be able to build boats now. I might not. Saved resources recruiting allows me to buy fleets as well. Yeah. So I could throw cards to buy fleets. That's the 3+ cards that'll put fleet sections in play. And that might be important. But, ooh, and I spent, no, Belle-Île was not a card. Yeah, I spent the Belle-Île card, but not for campaign points, so I didn't get any fleet activations. And the English can't spend any campaign cards. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. You can't get fleet activations, like the treasure fleet. Even though France is not at war, the fact that they're not at war means that they can't get their treasure fleet. Like the British could intercept it anyway too, which also feels kind of weird. Although there was kind of a weird Cold War type situation going on, so I wouldn't be shocked. Like Jenkins' year is going on right now, and if the treasure fleet's the Spanish too, then it makes more sense. But if it's like the money coming, like because it's the French treasure fleet, which doesn't make much sense. Like the Spanish treasure fleet would be the New World silver and gold. But for the French, it might be some of their East India trading. It's most likely the Caribbean islands, sugar and whatnot, the rum. And if that's the case, I'm really not sure that the English should be able to prevent that whole pile of money coming in. That's also money that goes to the French, not to the Spaniards. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't really feel like Spanish money. So I don't know what's up with that, what that's representing, etc. But the idea of the British being able to intercept the entirety of the French overseas income, as long as they're not at war, wow, that sounds iffy to me. But this card set me off. Return Montemar to the, so this is if played as an event removed, fine. It doesn't have any date on it. Return Montemar to the force pool. He's this guy. I don't know what the force pool is. I guess the counter sheet here. And place Gages with any SP Italian forces. Gages doesn't come in until 1742, and he's got a dashed line around him. So my feeling is, okay, he doesn't come in until next year, so I can't play this yet. But let's keep reading because it gets more interesting. After that, place Don Philippe and La Mina. La Mina's over here, unavailable except by an event card, but not on this card at all. And there's a way that people are on this card with dashed things around them, right? So it's kind of weird because I'm like, well, okay, I got to wait till next year for Gages. But La Mina, I guess, is always available. He's in the 1741 box with the dashed line. They just didn't have much room. Fine, whatever. That might make sense. But Don Philippe is over here without a dashed line in 1744. He'll automatically come in. So I'm trying to make this up to make it work, right? So I think I would get Don Philippe and La Mina, because there's no dashed line for coming in by event for him. But I don't think I could get Gages until that year. This is how, but there's no explanation of this shit, right? Like, that leader arrival chart is not, like, explained beyond what's said on here. And I'm trying to reconcile it with this card and come up with some meaning that might work between why I have one guy in there, one guy with a dashed line or box around him as an event on a particular year, and one guy without a dashed box around him that comes in on a particular year. And it's like all three of the leaders have, you know, I'm making up different rules for each one, none of which really fit this. This would just say, hey, grab them all and just put them on the board. again, you know, if you want to make something that complicated, look, you can't do it on a card, right? This kind of trickery doesn't work without lots of verbal aspects somewhere that tells me, hey, for this card, instead of like, why there's playable when neutral on the Cartagena card, and then I think actually a rule for it that says it's playable when neutral. What the hell? There's nothing about this card that would say it's not playable when neutral. But at least that's cleared up. All cards are playable when neutral. Unless obviously they just wouldn't work. Like, hey, take a campaign or something like that. Although he's saying there's reinforcements that wouldn't be. This also transfer up to 8 SPs, 8 SP infantry SPs. Okay. I think it should say 8 infantry SPs, not that 8 SP infantry SPs. I get the feeling it was like changed. Already in play from Barcelona to FR Antibes space. Now, Antibes sounds to me like it would be in the Caribbean, but it's not. It's over here. Okay. Yeah, that would get me close to Italy. Great. That would be a useful card, but I don't want to do it until Gages. Sea transport a whole bunch of stuff, or a fleet sortie transport. Oh. And yeah, so the same guy who answered stuff wrong a couple of times in a couple of threads also seems to think that these colors don't mean anything. And this time he's managing to convince me that maybe that's what's meant. I have to log in again and see if Bob gives me any words about that. I'm just, I'm reaching for straws to try to make the colors on the cards mean anything, like these little seals. But essentially they will mean nothing at all for the Spaniards if this other person's interpretation is correct. But of course he's been wrong multiple times, so I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if he's wrong again. Okay, I gotta swap batteries. I'll keep looking through the French. One of the things, if I have to read a lot in a game, it's fatiguing, right? So if I have to do a lot of rules lookups, that always fatigues me. That was the case with the recent coin-like game, Vijay Nagra, that I played, because you have to keep looking at the menu and sometimes at the rulebook, but mainly at the coin menu to figure out what you can do and compare all these choices that are writing choices, right? It's not look at the board and try to figure out what you can do from your memory of the rule and the game state and whatnot. That's gaming as I'm used to, right? But if I have to keep looking things up, either on some player aid or in the rule book, or on a modifiers chart like in in Summer Storm. It's by Clash of Arms. And it's one of the problems I have with CDGs. If I have to read a lot of cards, and that's what I'm doing in this game, it's like reading a lot of rules again and again and again. I'm having to parse through a lot of stuff, and then I'm having to, answer the questions, etc. So you can make the same argument. Hey, what about EU? You have to read through a lot of stuff in EU. EU pop, yes. Regular Europa Universalis, no. I mean, okay, look. I do the event phase, and that does fatigue me. But I roll the dice, I get my events, I resolve those, and that's just a piece of my turn, and I walk away. Here, I'm having to go through everybody's hand multiple times, reading all their rather lengthy cards, thinking about all the choices and everything. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. That's one of the things I don't like about a lot of CDGs. Look, some of them are fine. You know, again, Unhappy King Charles, pretty simple, has a few cards that have a lot of information on them, but most of them are just plain old regular cards. Same thing with like Washington's War, the simpler ones. I think there's a fair amount of wording in Here I Stand and in Sword of Rome, but it's like I'm having to read the rules constantly and make choices between different rules that I want to put into play, right? As opposed to what I'm used to with a game, which is that I get a pattern and I just do things. And, you know, I enact my strategy, and I'm busily spending most of my effort in the game developing my strategy and playing things out, maybe doing some mechanical stuff like rolling dice and whatnot, being involved in the narrative that's going on and all that. Here, I'm constantly involved in a lookup of rules because every card is a rule, basically. Nearly all of them have a significant amount of text on them that I have to read and compare to what my situation. So that's one of my big negatives for CDGs. You know, I mean, okay, why am I going into this? Well, because I like to babble. But beyond that, I am often struggling with, look, I was kind of excited by CDGs when I first ran into a couple of them. I'm thinking, which did I really get excited about? I really got excited about Sword of Rome and Here I Stand. And from there, kind of worked backwards, right? For the people, stuff like that. But what excited me about them was, here was a newfangled way of delivering event-driven games, okay? And it was kind of exciting. There's kind of neat play opportunities, etc. But somewhere along the line, I soured on them very heavily. Like, I don't hate them. I still enjoy the ones that I've gotten. But I've just grown more and more to, like, yeah, you know, they were a neat little option. It's kind of like with Coin, to tell you the truth. I'm not soured on Coin particularly any more than, I mean, I don't know. With Coin, you constantly are flipping up a card and looking at it and then looking at your menu and having to worry about that until you finally internalize it. But I think I'm just finding that that added effort is just no fun. You know, it was exciting and new at one point, and now it's just kind of like, it's a burden of reading rules instead of a fun aspect of what I used to, used to consider in the play. Now this one's particularly bad simply because there's so much text on each card. Okay, here we're in random territory. So I'm looking at this Nymphomaniac Rewards. Alliance Attempt card. It has lots of stuff. I'm like, I'm not that interested in affecting the Saxons or South Africans or whatever. But Saxony allies with the Bourbons. Okay. Allows play of Augustus overawed. What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean I'm allowed to... I could have played this earlier and it would have... No, I couldn't because the Nymphomaniac Treaty hasn't happened yet. But does it mean that I could have played this to allow me to play Augustus overall early? Or is this a prerequisite for playing it that's not mentioned on that Prussian card? Oh joy! So this is another thing. It's just like, you know, the rules as expressed on the cards are incomplete. All right, so obviously what do? We look in the playbook? No, we've learned the playbook doesn't have any information that gives you a fucking bit of information that helps you play the game. All it has is historical context for the cards. It doesn't give you additional info like sometimes they do. That's a shitty mechanism. Like you want all the information the cards need on the cards. Now, you could say, okay, but there's 2 or 3 cards in the game that you need to be able to refer to because they just have a big lot of information on them. And fine. That's okay. You know, something like the Lord North resigns in Washington's War or whatever. Something like that is worth it. I don't even fucking know what to do with these cards that seem to imply that they're prerequisites for other cards and are not on that other card. If we take a look, here's Augustus overawed. Now, its requirement is play 42 or later if Prussia is still belligerent and Saxony is allied with it. Well, and there's nothing later in it that says anything about this either. I have no idea what to do with these. So, one interpretation is this allows me to get around the 42 limit. Okay, maybe. I don't know where the Nymphomaniac Treaty goes. I am going to discard a couple of these cards, and I don't remember what the French do. Do they okay. 3 point or greater gives me a fleet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard 1 for a strength point and 1 for a fleet value. So I did that. That's the French. That puts me over to the English. Still haven't figured out their discards yet. But I did notice something here. So, Bavarian Spanish subsidy. Okay, it looks just like this, and I guess like this. I don't know what the British subsidy is. Is there a marker for that? These are kind of confusing, because it's not clear that you don't just get them. Maybe somewhere in the rules it says that, but just looking at it, I'm like, oh, interesting. Is there a counter for that? Well, there happens to be a counter for this Bavarian subsidy. Is there a counter for the British subsidy? There is not. I don't know what those British subsidies are. Oh, that's for Piedmont. Okay, there probably is a counter for that then. There's a Piedmont subsidy, and then there's another Piedmont subsidy. Well, I don't know why there's 2. Like 2 different counters for that, but maybe I'll figure it out if I get the cards for it, whatever. But a lot of these, they look like you're just going to get something, but no, you have to have the card for it. Now, those would come in the spring reinforcement segment. So let's look and see how that says that. All powers received and place reinforcement SPs. We'll look at 18.11. This includes those played during event play and Kingdom Resources subsidy listed on any of those markers in the boxes. So at least it kind of tells me fairly early on in the sequence of play. It does tell me that there has to be markers in the boxes. But I could see very easily just looking at this and saying, oh, I get a subsidy, you know, whatever. Because the box tells me what's on the counter. Now, is that bad or not? I don't know. It could be a little clearer, but okay. We're in Grumpy Town about this game as a whole. We're going to finish this, get to the player turns and say screw it for a while again. Oh, it is coming down. Unfortunately, I really shouldn't be playing Raid, so I don't know what I'll do. Maybe sit out in the rain and cry. That sounds like fun. Brits had about 9 cards in there, so I threw 3 cards, 2 of which were, or no, 3 of which, I must have thrown more than that. Yeah, I threw 4 cards. Ooh, that may not be safe. Oh well. I threw 4 cards, knowing that I'm going to get all but 1 maybe back. Built myself a bunch of fleet sections and a single infantry point, because why not? I don't know if I'm able to build Piedmontese forces with these discards. This is, I wouldn't want to right now, I guess. May discard. This is, I don't know when this is. Saved resources recruiting. Let's look here. It'll be in here. 4.3.2. Well, that's this. Okay, that's not useful. Yeah, it doesn't say. So, players may discard up to 3 cards for France or Britain. Okay, so this is weird, right? Here it says to buy reinforcement SPs or depots, but 6.10 is this other rule. They may discard 1 3+ strategy card per year. Okay, I cheated. I can't discard all these. So I will only build 2 fleet sections, and that'll be that. I discarded an infantry. I'll have to look, see if I want to build more infantry. I probably should put these up here. I'm really not sure if I'm allowed to discard. I might want to build a depot instead, because I kind of can't operate without one, but I kind of can't operate anyway. I've got, you know, a little army and shit forces. I'm just keeping the Prussians active. And if I can take Magdeburg, then I can keep going. So like having a depot doesn't sound all that useful. Let me see. I want the Flurries Jealousy, maybe. I definitely want the Med Fleet Rising. This one's my iffy one. Do I want to throw this out? Well, that's my other fleet sortie that I'm holding in my hand. I want the Negotiations. I want the Intransigence. That's for sure. So the Flurries Jealousy, I'm not sure, but I think I want that in hand. So I will keep the rest of these cards. Now, I mean, I'm like, well, actually, yeah, let me throw Flurries Jealousy for another infantry. I'll take care of that. That's 3 cards total. 3 cards total means I get all these cards back. So I'm not actually expending anything by playing that. Making some change. That's one of the big deals of this. Now, I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case, but right now, I will draw 12 new cards into my hand, right? And there are only 12 cards left, so I'm not even giving. There's no opportunity cost to me throwing away 3 cards for the English. Now we'll be going into here. And that's the case for a lot of the powers. Now, I think as the decks increase in size, even though some cards get pulled out, there are quite a few cards in the wider war and the late war. So I think that there becomes at least an opportunity cost in the sense that I wouldn't want to throw a card like this Flurries Jealousy that I almost certainly want to play next year, but I don't want to play it yet. And that's kind of the weird thing. Now, I have something I absolutely must play and have to remember, which is the Flurries Intransigence. It can only be played in 1741. I have to play it here. I do not get another chance to play it, because it's not a winter campaign or anything like that. And this will cause all kinds of stuff to happen. The Spaniards can't transit France. The French won't enter Italy. It opens up, you know, all kind of protection for my Austrians, who don't really have a pathway. Like, I pulled my Italian army out of Austria to face the Prussians. So that's kind of a big deal. But like I said, I'm in no mood to continue playing at this point. This game is just taxing me too heavily with a hand of 12 cards. I'm looking up not 12 different rules essentially, but every time that I look at my hand, any given Powers hand of cards, I'm probably looking at something like 6 new rules again and again and again, because they are relatively complex. And yeah, and when you combine that with the rules lookup, because the rules themselves are pretty heavy too. Unlike a coin game where the patter of the game becomes relatively quick and easy, you've got this ridiculously complicated sequence of play. It feels like Vietnam's sequence of play, right? With the little flow chart and everything, where the actual sequence of play is actually really light. But the flowchart aspect of, hey, what can I do and everything can be quite complicated. But then eventually you figure out that, yeah, I'm only doing the same thing again and again in that game. Because you don't have a whole handful of cards, each with their own rule on it, right? But this is actually relatively complex as well. It's just a burden too much. Yeah, I think now I've got the another game on the same subject from the No Peace Without Spain system. I think that'll be a lot more fun to play. Is that the next one that I have to do? It's just such a shame. I don't remember Clash of Monarchs being anywhere near this painful. And that system's a CDG system, but one that's much, much lighter. And, it's just sort of the same rules across each game in the system, which is the way you want to do things when you're putting out, multiple games. You want to get people hooked in your system and then not change the rules too much, except where absolutely necessary for the differences of the war. What's really strange is that Clash of Monarchs is viewed as such a, as such a very good complex CDG. This feels like it went significantly away from that. And it could have been a Clash of Monarchs, especially using this, since it's using the same, name style, Clash of Sovereigns instead of Clash of Monarchs. It could have used the base Clash of Monarchs system and not gone the path it went down, which feels more like, hey, Clash of Monarchs is one of the heaviest CDGs out there. What happens if we make the sequence of play more complex and put more complex cards? This is not the spirit of the 70s, dude. I'm sorry, man. Okay, maybe the very, very late 70s at the very end. But yeah, this whole, 70s gamer motif that he's put throughout it, yeah, this ain't it. First of all, it's a very modern CDG type, CDGs didn't really catch on in the 90s even. They really hit their stride in the 2000 period. And then I think they've faded since then. But but on top of that, the amount of lookups and all that, no. The 70s is the era of the big dumb monster, man. Okay, so we're in the early winter supply segment. I think my supplies are good. I'm on the Prussians first. Austrian irregulars, no. Campaign card segment. I do not have any cards left. No problem there. Rally segment, no biggie. Winter quarters evicted, no. So we go back. We're on the Austrians. Something's going to happen. Supplies, we're still good. Austrian irregulars, I'm just not seeing much use for these guys. It could be this particular part of the war they're not very helpful in, but so they have an effect, all right? They mean that the Prussians have to, or whoever is facing the Austrians, have to kind of garrison and protect their supply routes. That's about it. And light protection like this isn't really sufficient. So we'll see. We might be able to do something with them a little later, but right now, not something I want to do. But campaign card segment, I have a card. I think it's late winter though. I have almost no cards left. Late winter. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I had some desires to do so because I think that I could bring Traun about to maybe destroy Frederick's army or something. Which to me seems like a big coup if I can like destroy the Prussians with Austria, because all of this, why is it? Well, a big part of it's because Belle-Ile, that fucking card that said summer campaign season, and I'm in the first campaign season of the game, I think it has to be spring. Yeah, no. So getting off to that mistake was a big deal. So I don't have anything I can do there, and obviously no rally segment. Nobody else is active, are they? Well, they might be. Let's go to the French. Do I have any winter campaigns? All right. Here we have to read the red text on every card, basically. Now, I think I'm only allowed to play event card that allow winter movement. Yeah, I can't play any other kind of card. So, as a belligerent, I would have been able to play any event card in normal campaign seasons, even if I don't want to move pieces around. But here it's very special. I don't think there's a damn thing I can do with them, and obviously the Brits aren't even in the war, although maybe they can do something with Hanover. We haven't been able to figure that out. So nobody got evicted, and we go to the event card segment, and we go back. Prussians can't play. Austrians. This is my last chance to play an event card for an event. So I will not play this. Play 1742 or later. I held on to this card because I wanted to play it. Can't do it. Oh well. Again, the red text fucks me over. Right? That's going to happen throughout the game. It's just going to keep happening. I probably have something I want to do with the French. Cartagena, if nothing else. This one I'm too confused to want to play. I don't want to play this because that lasts for a year. Okay. I don't control Munich, Passau, and Frankfurt, right? I don't know where Passau is. I don't have Frankfurt yet. Passau is way over here. I've got that. I've got to get Frankfurt for this to work. This is a good card, a really important one, lots of points in it. So I'll play the Cartagena card. And yes, still no response, but that's fine. It's a one-time event, which must mean that it's over here. Yep. So I have to write that down. But basically, all it does is 1 SP, 1 Spanish victory point, -1 British victory point. And this is an event, and that'll move the total. And an event, and that'll move the total. And we could look it up for the historical context. I don't know what it is. Well, how about that? We don't get to know what it is. It's actually one of very few that I was kind of curious about what's going on with it. And then this just gets discarded into the rest of the French cards. And then the Brits, well, probably have something. Flurries and Transigence. Definitely don't want to do this. I'm at the end of the year. I'll be in a new year here, but I don't get to play a card there. So we'll Keep that. Negotiations. Definitely a possibility. Martin's ultimatum. There has not been an earthquake, so... Now, the Naples earthquake... Oh, it's a fog of war event. Cool. This one I can play later. So this is the one I want to play. Okay. I have a choice between Piedmont or Russia. I'm going to go with Piedmont because I can't let them fall. I get nothing. This is just a diplomacy card. It'll get reshuffled in. I want to play it every year, basically. It's my negotiations 2 card. Then we hit end phase, advance the season, remove all CH not stacked, remove all gorillas. Fine. I know it looks like, you know, we're in the same place, but we're actually in the new year now. This is 1742. It's time for this one to go up. And I'm very happy about that. I'm going to take advantage of this rainy day, I think, to curl up on my beanbag and read. I don't really feel like playing Raid, and I sure the hell don't feel like playing this. Like, I could bop up and down between videos and this a lot, but I kind of just want to curl up and read. I'm not looking forward to this winter. I'm not looking forward to anything, but I haven't done a lot of the stuff that I was supposed to do to get ready for it. The summer was hot, but, you know, I was outside a couple days ago. What, yesterday maybe? Yesterday, the day before. And I was thinking I ought to start cleaning my roof or whatever. I just don't have the energy or the will to do it. And then I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to spend another winter, like, I'm down to one space heater, which is fine. That's all I actually need, just one for my bedroom. And I can move it around, you know, if I want to be in the living room and have heat right on me or whatever. But it's not as good a one as I used to have. But the one I used to have like pretty much died on me. It was becoming a hazard, I think. And I didn't do any of the shit that I wanted to do while weather was kind of nice. Now, you know, I'm getting all depressive about it. Look, it's going to rain for a couple days. Then there's going to be another month or month and a half of reasonably good weather. You know, sure, there might be rainy days and everything. But while I was sitting out on the porch, I just had this realization that, like, yeah, every fucking day I'm so busy playing Raid or doing this, or, you know, the few days that I go out and have to go shopping or whatever, I'm out of clothes, not because of laundry, but because I'm gotten too fat, and the things I'm not too fat for have all fallen apart. And it's just, I don't know. You know, it's the cost of, geez, I don't know if I'm going to live another couple weeks, regularly being my mindset. You know, my teeth are rotting, I can tell. And not by taste or anything, just I can feel something. It's not pain. It's like cool air rushing through them or something. But, yeah, you know, the last few years I've given up, and I knew this was going to happen, but I just didn't have the will to go forward with, like, the kinds of things that make, you know, life not continue to get more miserable at a faster rate. I know it's just going to fucking get more miserable, and I've just given up trying to slow that down. The same thing happened, you know, it's not me alone. My mother, basically, although she was a lot older, not a whole lot older, but basically deteriorated. She died the same year my wife did. But her brother ended up killing himself because he let shit go. He ended up with diabetes and, like, had to have both legs amputated. I don't know how long my decline's going to be. You know, I mean, I'm hoping that something takes me out faster than those, because I don't want to look forward to that misery. I don't want to deal with the, you know, my father is going to die at some point. I don't want to be around for that. I just want to be out, you know. And the idea of like this fucking winter, last winter was painful enough. I just don't have it in me. I do not have it in me. So on that cheery note, unless an AI comes along and makes me its pet and takes care of me in the meantime, we're gonna load this one up, and yeah.